the number. 888-539-2980. 888-KFWB-980. 888-539-2980. 888-KFWB-980. Now, with me in studio, Melody Rogers, who used to be on Two on the Town and all that stuff, and has a great acting background. And on the phone with us on the line is her husband, Pat Kelly, who used to be known as Paraquat Kelly from the old Mighty Met, KMET. Those of you who remember Hooya and all of that, maybe we'll ask Pat later where that Hooya came from. In any event, they're out with a new book, which we'll tell you about in just a second. Well, I'll tell you about it now, as a matter of fact. The book is called And There Will Always Be Termites. It's a real adventure told by Patrick and Melody in their own words. A bumpy ride at times, but you're not going to want to get off. And first, let's say good morning to Melody, first of all. Good morning, Melody. How you doing?
Good morning, Ken. Thank you. I'm very excited about being here with you.
You look bright and chipper.
Well, I am. Bright and chipper.
And Patrick is on the line with us right now. And Patrick, how you doing this morning?
Well, I'm bright and chipper, too.
That's an old comedy team, isn't it? Bright and Chipper. Yeah. I remember them very well. I played a bill with Abbott and Costello back in the 30s. All right, anyway, just being silly. Now, let's I want to talk about you guys for a second, and this involves Money 101 because you guys, after show business, you guys went into real estate and all of that. But we're going to get to that in a moment. Let me give you a brief outline of what these folks have gone through the last several years. Let's see. Years ago, Pat was a breakout radio star, especially on the Mighty Met, on the late lamented KMET. And I know the station was so good that another radio station in Los Angeles actually resurrected KMET a couple of weeks ago. And Pat, you were on that, right?
Oh yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah, and that was very interesting that they did that. That shows you the station was, a lot of people have fond memories of that radio station.
Oh, absolutely. KMET was a spirit that you just can't, it's indomitable, unbelievable, fantastic. Just getting back on the air with those people, you could almost feel the energy in the air again.
Wow.
With all of the old KMET people, it was just a wonderful feeling.
Now, you were, all right, let's get into that a little bit, because you were a news guy at KMET, and how did that get started?
It's the dumbest thing in the world. I mean, it truly is. I'd never done news before in my life. I was following orders from Fred Hessler at old KMPC to go out to the Dodger Stadium for the Dodgers, and I think it was a Philadelphia Phillies playoff game. And he asked me to go out there and sit using his credentials in the press area. And after the game, my job was not to ask any questions, put a tape recorder up there in front of the winning team's manager's face, get the post-game comments, but don't say a word. So I did. I went out there, and I sat there, and behind me, sitting in the stands, was Mary Turner and Ace Young. So Ace and I hit it off.
Both well-known Los Angeles radio personalities at the time.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I just want to give a little context. Go ahead.
So it was Mary. So we hit it off right away. In fact, Ace was so impressed with my knowledge of baseball, he asked me if they could hire me to help cover the World Series if the Dodgers got in, which they were going to get into. I said, well, sure, absolutely. So, I helped them there. And in the meantime, while all of this is going on, I had a brokered radio station out in a program on a radio station out in Covina or something like that.
Yeah.
You couldn't hear the station in L.A. hardly. But it was a brokered, I give you a free, sports program if you give me the airtime. So it was one of those deals, and it was called, I don't even know, The Parade of Sports with Pat Kelly, and it was a tongue-in-cheek. It was a funny sports program. It was irreverent. Ace heard it, and he goes, this is just what I need at KMET. So they set up an audition. I went in there, and Sam Bellamy heard me on the air. And
program director at the time, right?
Yeah. And I'd never done news before in my life. And I think the irony of the whole thing was Ace said, well, have you ever done news before? And I said, no. And he looked at me and he said, perfect.
Yeah, you qualify, right.
That's it. That's KMET for you in a nutshell.
Now the thing was, in the old days of KMET, I noticed from your book, and when you did your newscast, you really started from the back of the book, and you did the funny or offbeat stories first, and then you got into the serious stuff.
Well, yeah, we always figured that, we wanted to make news on the radio in those days, a tune in. Not normally, you go to any radio station, if they turn on the news, I'm not saying today, but in the old days, right? you'd be listening to a music station, whatever, and as soon as the news would come on, you'd want to switch the dial. Well, you know what? When the news comes on at KMET, you want to tune in. You know, almost
That's
one
right.
of the things where it was supposed to try to be better than the music, and that's the way it worked out. And
you became a legend in this town.
Oh yeah, it was just fantastic.
Okay, now we're gonna in a minute we have to pause for a commercial break, and let's we're gonna bring people up to date on your battle with degenerative multiple sclerosis, which is quite, for those of you who don't know, quite serious. You are wheelchair bound, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty much
Oh, that's
wheelchair bound, and I'm couch bound.
Couch bound, yeah.
I haven't been out of the house in a couple of years yet.
Oy vey. That's got to be really tough.
Well, it's tough when you're trapped in the house with Melody Rogers.
Yeah. Let's turn to Melody for a second, real quick. And Melody, former actress. We'll get into some of that, and but known to most Angelinos, I think, is the former host of Two on the Town with Steve Edwards.
Right.
That was a big show years ago. That was a terrific show, and they sent you guys all over the world. But this book that you have, and There Will Always Be Termites, is about a journey, isn't it?
Yes, it's about our journey from being celebrities. We both were celebrities in L.A.
And you married when? What year did you get married?
1988.
Okay.
We met in 87. There was an earthquake that day, and
Yes,
we October 1st, and we got married a year later. And so our careers were terrific, and then all of a sudden the light went out. You know, when you get to be what they call chronologically gifted.
Yes, aged out of the business,
yes.
as they also say. Yeah.
So
okay.
we wanted to reinvent ourselves because we knew that our careers were over.
We're going to talk about this reinvention coming up in just a couple of minutes. We're going to take a little break, check in with the Wall Street Journal and all of that. And Pat Kelly and Melody Rogers with us. Their book, And There Will Always Be Termites, and it's on Kindle, right?
Right.
It's on. You can Kindle that thing. Give it a verb or something like that. We'll get into that in just a moment too. I'm Ken Jeffries in for Bob McCormick on Money 101. Money 101, I'm Ken Jeffries in for Bob McCormick. Bob to return on Monday. Back to Melody Rogers and Pat Paraquats Kelly here on KFWB. And Pat, I just want to ask you real quick, and a lot of people know this story, but some of them don't. How did you get that name of Paraquat, and what does it mean?
Well, that was back in the day when there was, Ace and I had heard about marijuana fields down in Mexico being sprayed with illicit paraquat.
Yeah, and that Ace, we had to back up Ace Young, the news director of KMET at the time. Yeah,
Ace Young, right? And I'm assuming that everybody's listening right now listen to KMET.
We're all KMET fan, right.
But Ace Young and I were doing some background research, and we found out that the paraquat, which was an herbicide being sprayed on the marijuana fields in Mexico, contained some kind of I don't know what poison of some kind that, if smoked, could cause irreparable lung damage. So we felt, as a service to our listeners, that we would point this out, and we did. And we had a petition drive put together, delivered the petitions to Washington, D.C., Jimmy Carter's administration, and we had the paraquat spraying banned by U.S. U.S. government helicopters or whatever in Mexico.
Right.
It was just stopped. It's a hard thing to quickly summarize, but we had it basically stopped. Only way they could continue spraying marijuana with paraquat is if it was recognizable, and ultimately it was impossible to put dye in it or make it colorized. So they stopped spraying marijuana with paraquat. We didn't smoke marijuana necessarily at KMET. We just did it for just a public service. That's what it was.
Yeah, a public service. Just little investigative pieces, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so that's how you got it, and you got famous basically in Los Angeles. Melody, let me get back to you for a second. So you guys were big stars in radio and TV in Los Angeles, and then I don't want to say came the end, but then came a change.
No,
right?
yeah, the end did come.
How did you guys deal with that, with careers and things?
Well, we both kept thinking we would get other shows. We both kept thinking, we've been doing this. I started at 15, and this is what I did. That was my passion.
Well, we ought to say you got a background as an actress. You were on Saved on the Bell, Saved on the Bell,
and Broadway.
Right.
I did
Broadway,
Chorus Line and all kinds of musicals, which I loved. But the phone stopped ringing, and we finally realized that it was time to move on. And Pat's older brother, he has 2 older brothers and 1 younger, was doing real estate in Central California. And I said, Pat, why don't you go and get your license? Thinking, I would get another show. Well, I went with him. We got our license, and we started doing real estate. We did not know what we were doing. When you get your license, you get your license, but you don't know anything about doing deals. And we started, and, we just did very well, and it's become our career now. And it's very interesting, and it's fun, and it's tough, and I've met some of the most wonderful people in the world in dealing with different clients. It's like show business in a way.
Yeah, you got to show off a house, right? You got to be a little bit of an actress, a little bit of Carney involved in that. Not that you're faking anything. But,
no, and you have to be a chauffeur, and you have to be a psychiatrist, and you have to be a maid, and you have to be a dog walker. I mean, we're there to serve. Dog
walker walking the dogs of potential clients? Is that what
No,
you're
when they're not home, and you're going to show a house, and
I see people already in the house.
I didn't have time to walk my dog, so
Oh my God! Oh.
So it's a service business.
You know what? If we got any realtors listening out there, and you have some horror stories, and I know Pat and Melody have some, you can give us a call here at 888-539-2980, 888-KFWB-980, 888-539-2980, 888-KFWB-980. So give us a call. Don't be shy. Now, so we wanted to get into some of the real estate stories. The title of your book, And There Will Always Be Termites, that's, I presume, kind of real estate related?
Well, it is real estate related because in Southern California there always are termites. But it's metaphorical, too, in that, there's always things eating at us.
Eating at you, yeah.
Yeah, at everything. So it has a number of meanings.
Now, you guys have some funny stories in your book about real estate. How about you, Pat? Got anything you can recount for us?
Oh, God. You know what? There are so many stories that did not make the book.
That's right.
Are they suitable for radio?
They well, I would say they are. But,
okay.
To think of one offhand, I still think my favorite of all was we had a client that said, yeah, we'd like you to sell the house. And it was a woman, about 6'4", 180. And
what football team did she play for?
Exactly.
Holy moly.
Yeah, came up knocked on our door and said, yeah, I want you to sell my house for me. And she was a nice lady, and we were supposed to come on in. So she came in. You got any vodka? So we, gave her some. She just got looped. She goes, you guys are the best. I love you. I'll see you later. Bolted out the door. And the next time she came up, she knocked at the door, and she goes, did you guys happen to lose an iguana? I go, what are you talking about?
This sounds like an old comedy routine, doesn't it?
I remember being there.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, as it turns out, this person was a transgender.
Yeah.
A transvestite, transgender, and unbelievable. And lived not far away. I want you guys to sell the house. Come on down and take a look at it. Went down there, and I guess she moved in the house probably in the 1950s, and I don't believe she, cleaned a dish since the time she moved in.
You can't explain what
this was kind of a hoarder or a pack rat?
Yeah, but dried eggs on the counter. And
I mean, there were, you walk up the steps and look in the kitchen, and the rats are feasting on whatever was left but God bless her, wonderful person it turns out, and we helped her, sell the house, and move on. And, it turned out that she was a wonderful person, despite whatever, other people might have thought. We found something good about this person, and vice versa, We don't judge people. We just help them. That's what we do.
She was also brilliant. I mean, had a brilliant mind, and she moved to a retirement home in Claremont so she could still take college classes at 85.
Yeah, and these are some of the people that you've helped and all of that. So.
Yeah.
And by the way, if people want to know more, you're patandmelody.com, right?
Right.
patandmelody.com, and that's for your real estate
Our
website.
real estate website.
To find out about the book, it's Pat and Melody now, right? .com.
Yes, that's
and
right.
And we'll repeat that as we go along, because we're going to continue this after that. We have to hit a break here in about a minute or two, but we will continue.
Okay.
We will continue this, and so you're doing the real estate, and then all of a sudden, Pat, you get diagnosed with MS. Is that pretty much what happened?
Melody knows the story. She recounts the dates better than I do. I believe it was like 2003. We were going to a Christmas party, a real estate Christmas party. My back had been hurting me because, I played golf every day of my life.
It was 2002.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well,
I played golf. I was a scratch golfer. I was very active physically. I was an athlete. And my back was bothering me, so I was always explaining away this nagging backache and limping and dragging a foot to my bad back. Anyway, we went and had an MRI, and as it turns out, the guy called back, the doctor, and he goes, "Good news." He goes, "It's MS." He goes, "I thought it was something much worse." So I'm thinking, well, this is great, man. It's only MS.
It's only MS, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Well,
now I'll tell you what.
Diagnose right then and there.
Yeah.
What kind of MS? They can say it's MS, but I have the MS I have is in the highest. Well, it's the lowest percentile. It's the worst kind you can get.
Yeah, the degenerative, right? Yeah.